Welcome to your first premium session, Hunter and Baldrick. It's been a little bit of time in between drinks for the rest of us, but I'm excited nonetheless. It was actually a good request, Baldrick. I haven't really delved into how the method that I use behind determining what an all-time high price could look like for a token. I've put together some information within the premium about Bitcoin and its all-time highs, all-time price, but that's about it. Um, but yeah, it all ties in together with how we can start looking at projecting some of the altcoins as well. Um, I'll just start by sharing my screen. And I think we might just start off by going over Sweat and just a general look at the markets before we jump into price predictions, because that's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll have a look at Sweat first up and see what has been happening. So I think when I did the post, it was around here when we had sort of tapped below that 0.0085 cents level, but we didn't close below it, which was good. It was something that kept me extremely cautious though. And the reason being is that over here we've got a higher low and a very key level. And we know that it's a key level because after we pushed through and made this initial high, we came back down and the price was unable to break below. It was a bounce zone. A lot of money came into Sweat, and it pushed on through. And now we've come back down to this same level. So it's almost forming a bit of a double bottom. I'm not really too keen that we've got wicks below. But the main point is that we didn't get a close below. I mean, we got extremely close here. We closed at 0.0086, but we're starting to grind out a little bit. I'm still not convinced though. The reason behind that is if Bitcoin has a dump, I'd be pretty confident in saying that we're going to lose this level. So we're only we're about 12-13% away from it. If Bitcoin dumps 12 or 13%, you'd bet your money on Sweat dumping at least the same, if not a bit more. And if it does start falling from this level, then we're going to be coming down into this territory pretty quickly, I would imagine, at the next level of support. And we can see that by, if we go back over here. Down here was the last time that the money came into the market to push out. So that would be a key level. Then we've also got these old, this was a very high resistance zone here down at 0.0063. I mean, it's going to take a fair bit of a drop to get down to these levels, but we need to be aware of them. I hope it doesn't get down there. That's quite a significant drop. It's about 30% or so. But yeah, if we do lose this level here, it does start to get a little bit dicey. We do have this resistance here at around 0.007, give or take. With the 786 fib as well. So it's not really looking too great from a downside perspective. We are getting back to some old levels from quite some time ago. Like the last time we were trading down in this area was in September last year. And I think Bitcoin would have been in September around that 25, 26K mark. And, it's now over 2x from that level, almost 3x from that level. So for Sweat, unfortunately, I'm not feeling too confident. And it is quite unexpected as well, because we had a very nice breakout here, forming another higher high. and then an extremely sharp decline since. And I'll just jump into the Sweat Bitcoin chart as well. This one paints a bit of a better picture, or an easier picture. So I've got this marked out. This was a low back in June when Sweat was trading at 0.004 cents, I think it was, at its all-time low. And then from there, we sort of had the announcement about the US launch, and it started trading really good against the Bitcoin pair. That was when it was meant to have its initial US launch, and then it got delayed. And there was the announcement that from Oleg that they were going to delay it by a month or 6 weeks or something. And it shook out the market a little bit, but it kept going up until the actual US launch. And that actually marks the week of the US launch. And ever since the US launch, it's been in a downtrend, which is fine. Like you do expect to have these corrections, but at some point you need to have a bounce back up to start making higher highs. But it just hasn't had that, and it's actually come down and taken out the low from when it was trading at its all-time low price. It is still early days. Like we're still what 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks into April at the moment, so we still have some time to recover. And I say that because if we get back above this red line, horizontal line here, that marks the low from when we hit the all-time low on the USD pair. If the monthly can get back up and close above this red horizontal, we can forgive this trading below, because that will turn into a wick below on a monthly chart. Monthly charts are a lot more macro, and I suppose reliable to an extent. And I say to an extent because you do have an entire month of trading to form that candle. So you can have a lot of trading below and then it comes back up. So they're a lot more flexible, I suppose, when you're looking at a monthly chart. And I'll show you what I mean. Jump into a monthly. It's going to bunch everything up. So, yeah, if we do get pop back up above, we really want to see a strong May then, where it bounces away. If May turns out to be red as well, it's just not looking good from a long-term perspective for me. I'm a believer in Sweat and I love Sweat, but when we're looking at the charts, we need to remove those biases because the charts don't lie. Unfortunately, that they don't take into account our biases. Maybe how you interpret it can. But yeah, and it doesn't mean that Sweat's going to go backwards either. It just means that it's more than likely going to underperform Bitcoin throughout the remainder of the cycle, or it's just going to underperform in comparison to similar alts of market value that are performing well against Bitcoin. So it's not to say that you're not going to have a return on your investment. It just may not be what you were hoping for, or what speculators are suggesting the price could reach. I'll just jump back over and see if there is any comments or questions around that. Nope. Cool. We might move on to NEAR. So before we do get stuck into NEAR, what I do first up is I'll jump into total market cap, and we're looking and we see what happened last cycle. So last cycle, the total market cap got to just over $3 trillion. I just try to use round numbers, makes it a bit easier for working out the maths. And overall, I like to have a conservative approach as well. But I'll talk us through that as we go. So last cycle, we reached a market cap of $3 trillion. And on total 3, we reached a market cap of, we'll call it $1.1 trillion. So we want to calculate what's our ratio for the total 3 market cap. So 3. So it was 2.72 was the ratio. Or we can go like this, around 36%. So now we need to start looking at projecting, all right, what could the market cap be at the top of this cycle? So this is the price prediction that I did for Bitcoin back in November last year. And it goes through and explains how I've come to the conclusion for my range. So basically, I've drawn trend line from the price cycle to price cycle all-time highs. So that would be the 2017 cycle and the 2021 cycle. And the trend line from the start of this bull cycle. Okay, this is right. So I don't know if you can see on the very left-hand side, there's the green wick that goes up. There's a trend line from there that goes over to here, which goes up. And then if we zoom in down here, on the lower time frames, this trend line is a lot, you can see it a lot more clearly. We've got that going up. That's creating a rising wedge, of extremely large rising wedge. Then we've got our fib extension, which has it for about 182k to 173k for the golden pocket. And I've got the little purple box there, and that's within sort of the timing of when I think we could reach an all-time high, which is towards the end of 2025, around that October, November period. And so I use the fib level, falls in line within that box, and I've used the fib as my my specific target, if you will. But it does leave a pretty big range. It's about 250k down to 130k, give or take, for the purple box. So I might just go with, we'll say hypothetically Bitcoin reaches 170k, and we can manipulate this to sort of suit ourselves as well. But if you do scroll back, or you can have a look at this in your own time, what I've got written there, and the charts. Right, so if we go with 170k times 10, so that puts us with a market cap for Bitcoin of around $3.23 trillion. Something else that we need to work out is, okay, what was the dominance at the, is my total market cap? What was the dominance back in November 21? So the dominance was quite low, to be honest. I was around that 43, 42% mark. Because I like to be conservative and to make things a bit easier, I'll suggest that the dominance is at 50%, just to make it a bit easier. So with that in mind, that would put the total crypto market cap at around that $6 trillion level. So 6 times 0.36. So that'll put the alt cap market, the total 3 market cap at around, we'll call it $2.2 trillion. So at the moment, the total 3, now we need to work out, okay, what is the current market share of total 3 for NEAR? So total 3 is currently at about 680 billion dollars. We'll check out near market cap. So 7.5 bill. 7.5 divided by 680. Currently looking at about 1.1% market share. I've got 2.2 times 0.01. All right, so that's suggesting that the market share will be around 24 billion. So basically, a very conservative approach would suggest that roughly talking, we would have NIA reach around $24 if it has no increase in its market share, which we know it has because we know that it is increasing its market share. And we know that because if we just look at NIA Bitcoin chart, it's going up. It's gaining on Bitcoin. There's not many alts that are gaining well enough against Bitcoin. So it is increasing its market share. We also know that the Bitcoin dominance was around 43% when it hit its peak. We've upped the Bitcoin dominance to 50%. So that would suggest that we're underquoting on the total 3 market cap, which would also suggest that the price would be higher again. What does play a big role in this is where does the Bitcoin price end up? That can affect our price predictions quite a bit. You know, if Bitcoin only gets 120k, well, you could just about wipe a third off our price predictions. So that would put it back down to about $16. But again, you do also have that buffer of NIA is increasing its market share of total 3. It's increasing against the Bitcoin pairing as well. So for me, I would say as an extremely conservative approach, $20 would be a highly likely scenario. And then we can also get into the charts for NIA. And we can use our fibs. So we've already got a fib there. We can just chuck an extension on that. So the fib extension has it going to about $33, which I think is starting to get a bit more realistic. If Bitcoin does get up to that up to that 160, 170k level, I think $32 is definitely a probably more neutral situation. I would say that $16 to $22 would probably be more of a conservative bearish case or worst case. 32s being probably a bit more neutral. And we can also go to 2618. And this is probably starting to get a bit more bullish, getting up to around that $50 level. And it's not really out of the realm of possibilities either. Like if you look if we look at Solana in its last bull run, it got up to $250, which we'll just check the market cap of that. Why isn't it coming up? Not coming up, but I think it was around that $70 billion mark for the Solana market cap. The only caveat on that is that there was SBF was playing funny buggers and pumping up the price of Solana. So it was definitely getting overinflated, and we saw what followed through from SBF being heavily tied into and involved in Solana came crashing down. It was had probably one of the biggest retraces out of the top 100 alts that are out there, especially if you exclude the likes of Hex and those game coins. Um, so yeah, I think it has a lot of upside. These levels, $16, $22, I can say with a fairly high degree of certainty that I feel like it's going to get there. Getting upwards around that $35 mark, I'm confident, quietly confident. But north of that, it's a lot of hopium, I suppose. From a fundamental perspective, Near really needs to start getting some development going on with its dApps. Sweat is its biggest dApp, or well, it's its biggest dApp realistically. From a user base perspective, I think they need to start working on getting a bit more TVL locked on the chain, which suggests that there's going to be more money coming into it. Some bigger whales involved that will really help propel it. The chain abstraction is quite interesting. I think that's definitely a move forward for them. That's different to everyone else. Gives them a bit of a one up, so that's good to see as well. But they're going pretty good, I think. It's already a 7x up from its current lows. So, is there any comments or questions about what we've sort of touched on? Was there any clarifications? Yeah, I'll just sort of rehash what we have gone over on all the methodology is to determine what is the ratio for total three to the total market cap at an all-time high, and we really only have one data point for that, and that's the last cycle, because there wasn't really a lot of alts prior to that around in the space. But essentially, it's about 1/3. Then it's to work out what the Bitcoin price is, because that's going to drive the entire market cap up. Which we did that. So looks like from a conservative approach, perhaps around that 6 trillion, 6 to 7 trillion. Like if we went 7 trillion market cap, that would be plausible as well, not out of the realm of possibility. Which would give a lot more room for total three to move up. That might give total three up to 2.5 trillion, $3 trillion. Yeah, it does come from comparing to Bitcoin. It just has such a large um, movement within the crypto world. Like it's the influencer, if you will. Like alts that alts can go off on their own little tangent, but they're going to come back at some point. It's why I'm quite skeptical on Solana reaching $1,000, because if you use that same market share process for Solana to reach $1,000, the total market cap needs to reach around $10 trillion, which starts to get a little bit away from um, the my price predictions, at least anyway. Now that would sort of suggest that Bitcoin's going to have to get up to around that 250k plus level in order to allow for a 10 trillion plus market cap, total market cap. But in saying that, if Solana is continuing to take more and more market share, while it can get there with the total market cap not having to go as high either. So it's all sort of, there's a lot of moving parts, and I suppose it's important not to get hung up on price predictions, because that's all they are. And there is so many different variables. Like, we've got the different variables that we've covered is, well, the Bitcoin price, the total to total three market cap ratio, the Bitcoin dominance, how does the alt that we're trying to do a price prediction on perform throughout the market? Is it going to be taking more market share? Is it going to be taking less? Is it going to be neutral? And then when you start getting into the DApps like Sweat, for instance, that becomes even more speculative, because then you need to. Yeah, that's great. When it's not even factoring into real world events either. If you start looking at, for instance, Sweat, then you need to factor in, okay, what is Sweat's ratio, like market cap ratio, in comparison to Near? Is it gaining or is it falling behind? And that brings another ratio into the mix. What have other similar tokens done? For instance, Steppen on the Solana network. What's its current ratio to Solana, and what has it been previously? To sort of give you a bit of guidance as to, okay, this is sort of perhaps the way that Sweat could go. Maybe it's trading at 3% of Near's market cap, whereas Steppen at its peak got up to 10% of Solana's market cap. So, okay, we've got a bit more legroom to potentially work with here. And these are all, it starts to get extremely speculative when you start looking at the smaller alts that are on the chains. But it is something nice to do, just to give you a bit of an idea of, okay, I've been thinking Sweat's going to get to $3 hypothetically. It's actually very unrealistic, and for that to happen, well, Near's going to have to get to $400. Even though there's no direct correlation, there is still a correlation there. I don't think I've actually come across a DApp on a layer one where the DApp has a higher market cap than the layer one. So they do move independent of each other, but there is definitely still a correlation between them as well. Yeah. It's not something that I've looked into per se, but it's something that I've never come across. I've never seen a layer two or that outperforming its the chain that it's built on. And it doesn't really make sense for it to either. It's almost like Coca-Cola being outperformed by a subsidiary. It's not really going to happen. I like to see them as the mummies, the big mummies, the big daddies, and then they've got their kids, and the kids are the daps. You're never going to outgrow your parents because they're already older. Exactly right. And that's where, for me, it's almost like, well, why would you can get a lot more, I suppose, return on investment on those at layer twos or the dApps. But if they're successful, the layer one's successful. If the layer one's successful, the layer two doesn't always get that success either. So it's like you've got a lot sort of going for a layer one. In saying that, you're less likely to get the same amount of percentage gained back. You're unlikely to get that the 200x's, 300x's on a layer one. But it's got a lot more room for upward growth, like consistent upward growth, I should say, as opposed to a riskier upward growth. Yeah, that's right, risk reward, exactly. But we all like to be a bit of a degen as well, and we all love to have that 1000x stream. So that's why these layer twos and dApps are out there. I did see that. Sorry to go back to Sweat, but I did see that Oleg is looking to hire a production manager, which is good, and I think that's a good step. It's needed. You can sort of tell that there's been some issues, perhaps in that department. With the wallet app has sort of been falling behind a little bit, I suppose, and the development for 2024, in my opinion, at least, anyway. So yeah, it's good to see that they're identifying that and getting onto it. One thing I do want to sort of talk about with you guys, because I know that I think we're all involved in Sweat to some degree, is just when we see there's been a lot of commentary around the token being deflationary, and whilst I suppose on a technical level it is, in a logical level, it actually is very, very far from being deflationary. Um, so I wouldn't be, and I'll explain why. It's basically I haven't really been seeing any evidence of there being any buyback and burns occurring. The vote that was had for what 2 billion tokens or whatever it was last year has been getting burnt to match whatever's been minting each month. And that's where it is technically deflationary. But those tokens that are being burnt were never they were never going to be used. They were dead tokens. It's almost like saying, right, I'm going to mint to do a pre-mint of 1 billion tokens. We're going to hand out 200 million of them. We're going to have a linear vesting schedule of 100 million tokens a month, and actually, I'll mint another 1 billion tokens, and whenever I hand out 1 million, I'll just burn 1 million from those ones that I minted in addition. And that way, from a holistic view, I'm net zero. But realistically, the 100 million tokens that you're putting in each month are going to active users out onto the open market, whereas those ones that you're burning were never actually on the market. So I think it's a bit of a touchy subject, I suppose, because you don't want to FUD, but yeah, that's exactly right, Baldrick. So David has been talking about a lot of focus going into token sinks this year, and I suppose being deflationary after they run out of these tokens that they're burning, and I really can't wait for that to occur. I'm looking forward to it because it really burns me every how I see it being advertised that sweat's deflationary when it is, but it's not. In From a practical perspective, it really isn't deflationary whatsoever. And I did mention actually a little while ago that I felt April and May were going to be extremely difficult to be green months for sweat. Just from my recollection, there was a lot of grow jars were set last year in April, May, in order to get I think it was some bonus sweat. We had a vote. A portion of it was getting distributed to people that had grow jars, and the remainder was being burnt. And so I feel that there would have been a lot of people rushing into grow jars during that April, May period. Hence, there's going to be a heap of tokens unlocking. And then again, towards, I think it would be around November mark, I think could be another period where we see perhaps a bit more selling pressure come into the market. But that's part and parcel of it, I suppose. Hope they get a handle on being actually practically deflationary. Sorry, have we still got uh, Hunter Hawk with us? No. Okay. Sorry, I'll just got to get moving for a second. Aldrich, did you have any more sort of questions around near and the price predictions? I think I might actually make a channel for it, and put in the key things to sort of watch out for. Um, yeah, like just I suppose the different things that I've been looking at, in regards to like the total three sort of stuff. There'll obviously be this recording as well, and we might just post that up in there as well, so it can be a good reference point to hear talking about it and working through it. Yeah, yeah, that's right. It's, you should try using that one with the tool with like XRP, for instance, and you'll see XRP is extremely unlikely to go to $10, let alone $100. Oh, welcome back, Hunter. I'm not sure how much you may have seen or missed out on. But we do have it is this session is recorded, so it should be up hopefully. Okay, yeah, no worries. Okay, so at least you caught the majority of the near discussion then, which is good. That's the main part of it. Um, Next week. So I just wanted to have a quick chat about next week while I've got you guys. Next week I'm heading away for work, which is good. It frees me up a bit more. Would holding it around awesome, no, that's great. Would holding this live session or probably around, I don't know, eight, 9 hours prior to now, be a suitable time for you both? Is that a bit more? Does that work for you guys a bit better, or do you guys prefer around this sort of time? I was just saying, Baldrick, as holding the session probably around 9 8 9 hours prior to the current time suit you guys at all for next week? Yeah, awesome. No, as well, I was thinking, yeah, I'll have a chat to you guys in the premium chat, and we'll sort out what day works best for you. And yeah, we'll get that going. I was also thinking of jumping in the Sweat voice chat next week and doing a bit of a walk and talk, provided the weather's good where I'm heading. So feel free to join me in that as well. Yeah, no worries, Baldrick. Hunter, if there's anything that you want me to specifically cover off or look at next week, just feel free to let me know, mate. And yeah, if I've got to do some research beforehand, it'll give me a bit of time to do so. Or maybe I might not have to do that, but yeah, I'll try to structure these sessions around what it is that you guys want to hear and learn about or discuss or go over or get my opinion on whatever it is, as opposed to me just sort of um, baffling on. So yeah, no, that's all good, mate. Even if it's in regards to like TA, I'm not sure where what your sort of skill level is in that area either, and how familiar you might be with like fib levels or parallel channels and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's really this is the time for you guys, and whatever you guys want to talk about and learn about, I'm happy to accommodate that. And if there's nothing really that sticks out for you, and you just want to have a bit of a chat, that's cool too. I'm happy to sort of make it up as I go as well. And so same for you, Baldrick. If you are wanting to have a bit of a go at charting and whatnot, chuck them up in the premium chats in the charts and chart sections and whatnot. We can have a look at them. Oh, that's good to know, Hunter. There's no shame in sharing, mate. Don't worry about that. Maybe we could do a session going over CBD or something like that. I see that you're a little bit interested in the CBD, Baldrick. I'm not sure how familiar you might be with it, Hunter, but yeah, awesome to hear. Well, with that, we'll probably close out for today, guys. But yeah, I'll be talking to you in the premium as much as I can, and otherwise we'll catch up probably early next week. I would say either Monday or Tuesday. I'll have a chat to both Nomad and Simon and see what works for them as well. So no worries. All right, take care, guys, and until next time.